Hello class, so now we're going to talk about chapter 11, outlining the speech. You will need to submit an outline for your informative speech and your persuasive speech. It is going to be graded and required. So let's go ahead and talk about two types of outlines. So outlines. Think about what might happen if you try to build a house without any type of floor plan or blueprints. Just as plans and blueprints are important for building, outlines are important for your speech. Outlines are the blueprint of your speech. They allow you to judge whether each part of your speech is fully developed. So you're thinking of the introduction, the main points in your body, and your conclusion. If they have enough supporting material for each of those main points, and if they are properly balanced. They also help to see that related items are together and that ideas flow from one to another. Outlines make sure the structure of your speech will stand up and not collapse. So there are two types of outlines. One will be very detailed and is used for the planning stage of developing your speech. The other will be very brief and it's used for the delivery or your delivery of your speech. It's called a speaking outline. Preparation of your outline. This helps you prepare your speech. Writing a preparation outline means putting your speech together. You are deciding what to say in your introduction. You are deciding how you will organize the main points and supporting materials in the body. And you're deciding what you will be saying in your conclusion. So in definition, it's a detailed outline developed during the process of the speech preparation that includes the title, specific purpose, central idea, introduction, main points, sub-points if you have any, connectives, conclusion, and bibliography of a speech. Let's talk about some guidelines for the preparation outline. You want to state the specific purpose of your speech. So this is that statement that should be separate unit and it comes before the outline itself. Normally it's whether to inform or persuade your audience of X, Y, and Z. You want to identify the central idea. So that is the residual message. You want to be able to make this statement in your introduction before the preview of your main points. Remember, the central idea covers what your general topic is and what main points you'll be discussing in your body. You also in your outline want to label the introduction, the body, and the conclusion. If you label your parts of your speech in your outline, you will find it easier to make sure that you have all 3 parts of your speech and that you have accomplished your objectives in each one. You want to label these in the middle of the page or in the far left margin. Use a consistent pattern of symbolization and indentation. Most outlines use Roman numerals to identify the main points. They're indented equally so to be aligned down the page. Subpoints are identified by capital letters and are also indented equally to line up with each other. As you add more subpoints, you will keep main points furthest to the left and subpoints progressively further to the right. This pattern will reveal the structure of your speech. Above all, remember that all of the points at that same level, so if they're all subpoints or subpoints, should immediately support the point just above and 1 notch to the left. So here would be an example of how you would prepare your outline with the Roman numerals, main points, capital letters, subpoints, and then numbers for the subpoint and lowercase letters if you have more. You want to state main points and some points in full sentences. So you'll notice in this example, the left side might be useful as a speaking outline, which is brief, but not as a preparation outline. It only gives vague labels instead of distinct ideas. It doesn't reveal that the speaker has actually thought out their ideas fully. So stating your main points and subpoints in full sentences will ensure that you develop your ideas fully. And here's an example of an effective outline with the main points stated for the preparation outline. You want to label transitions, internal summaries, and internal previews. One way to make sure you have a strong transition, internal summaries, and internal previews is to include them in your preparation outline. Usually they are not incorporated into the system of symbolization and indentation, but they're labeled separately and inserted in the outline where they will appear. You'll also attach a bibliography, which is a list of all the sources you used in preparing your speech. So it would list all the books, magazines, newspapers, internet searches that you used for your research. To know how to format them properly, you want to look at your book on page 130 for the examples, whether it be MLA or APA format that you use. Give your speech a title if one is desired. It's not required for this class, but in some cases it might be necessary. A title might be needed if the speech is going to be publicized in advance or is going to be published. If you decide on a title, it should be brief, it should attract the attention of your audience, and it should encapsulate the main thrust of your speech. Here's an example of some speeches, the titles that can have like a catchy title, so you can have fun with it. Here is an example of the preparation outline. It is in your book at the end of chapter 11. So take some time to look over that so you can get an idea of how those main points, subpoints are fully stated. You'll notice in some areas right here, it states what your transition is. So it's saying after this point, this is what I'm going to say to then move on to the next point in my body. And you'll notice at the very end how they list their bibliography, the list of all of the sources they use for research. So that is an outline that you will be using to actually prepare your speech. Once you're actually going to be presenting your speech, you use a different type of outline. This is a speaking outline. It's a brief outline that's just used to jog your memory during the presentation of the speech. So this is the most widely recommended form of notes for a speech. The aim of the speaking outline is just to help you remember what you want to say next. You don't actually want all of the information. You're not reading out of a script. It's just brief cues, words, or phrases to help you remember where you're going with your next point. So it's a very condensed version of your preparation outline. It should contain keywords and phrases to jog your memory, as well as essential statistics and quotations that you don't want to risk forgetting. It should also include material that's not in your preparation outline, especially cues to direct your speech, like when you're going to be pausing, when you're going to be talking louder or faster. You want to follow the same visual framework that you use in your preparation outline. So like the symbols and the pattern of indentation, the Roman numerals. This will make it easier to look at it at a glance and know where you are and reduce the odds of losing your place. Make sure your outline is legible. You need to be able to instantly read at a distance. So you want to use large lettering, leave extra space between lines or between your main points, provide ample margins, write or type only on one side of the paper, not double-sided, because sometimes then you might get even more confused and lose your place. If you use note cards, it's better to use the larger size note cards. You want to keep your outline as brief as possible. The best rule is keep notes to a minimum. Once again, it's just to jog your memory. If it's too detailed and you have too much information, it's going to be harder for you to actually find your place and maintain eye contact with your audience. So it can only contain keywords or phrases, main points, subpoints, and connectives. The quotes, you do want to write them out fully, and statistics, because you don't want to forget that. There might be 2, maybe 4 key ideas that the wording is so important that you want to state them in simple, complete sentences on your speaking outline. Give yourself cues for delivering the speech. So a good speaking outline reminds you what you're saying and what to say next, but it also reminds you of how you want to say it. So if you want to speak more loudly or softly in certain areas for greater impact, you want to highlight that area and make a note, say pause here, repeat, slow down, louder, or so on. So here's an example of a speaking outline. Once again, also, this is in your book, chapter 11. You'll notice in big red letters, it says make eye contact, slow down. And it has those main points. It gives you an idea of the transition. Start with bacteria in us. In a big red letters, it says pause. So they're going to do a short pause before they move on to the body. After point A, B, C, you'll notice in parentheses, just as important as bacteria in the body are bacteria in the world. So it gives yourself cues that you're saying and how to say it. But you'll notice, unlike the full preparation outline, this is not as written out or fully developed. It's just to remember what you're saying next. Here's an example of the page 2. Once again, pause, conclusion. So that is the outline chapter. If you have any questions about the outline as you are going to be preparing one for your informative speech, please let me know.